way easier for us. We're gonna clap at the same time so we can sync up the audio. If in case we need that audio as well.
Oh, they heard you.
So whenever
They'll
you clap,
let you
They can
that.
hear you.
Right? You can hear us?
They
Okay.
Welcome to episode 7 of the ABU podcast, special episode today. I'm Tyler. I'm your host. I'm here with Amanda,
Hello.
Zay,
Right?
and of course, DeWan.
Yo.
Today, here we got a special episode for you today. Like, follow, subscribe, do whatever you do. Today, we're here with a name you should know. We have the head, the director of Multicultural Affairs here at SFC. We have Maliek in the building.
Woo!
Maliek, how you doing today?
Doing great. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Good. Happy to be here.
No problem. Thank you for stepping in for this episode, our second big interview, as you could call it. So again, thank you for coming in. Again, you're the director of Multicultural Affairs.
Yep.
So let's just start it off high. Tell us about that. Tell us about the job process. Matter of fact, tell us about how you first when you first started the job. How was it back then to how it is now?
Wow. So this is special because today, Monday, marked 5 years of me being at SFC.
Wow.
5 years.
5 years.
So it's a funny thing. I applied for another position here when I was applying, and that didn't pan out. And I was offered to be the first person of being this assistant director of Multicultural Affairs. And I was charged to kind of build this office from scratch. So this office did not exist prior. Obviously, there was roles that did portions of the work, but a role dedicated to just this work did not exist. So 5 years coming in, I had to make sure that I focused on the multicultural clubs. I had to work on what Heritage Program looks like. So that's like Women's History Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, those celebrations. If you see, you also get those emails from the president and things like that. Those are events that are in there. It's coordinated from our office. And also just working on how to lead students to resources, right? Which means I had to build connection. So one of the biggest things I had to do was kind of, before doing any of that work, get to feel the pulse of the campus. So I don't believe that, especially for the work that I do, when you go into a new school or anything in life, when you go into a new area, you don't want to just go in, jumping in and doing stuff, right? You kind of want to feel out what's happening, what's the vibe here, what do the students need, what do they like, what they don't like, where can we put changes, where's our limits, you got to figure all of that out before doing the work. So my first few months here was really just getting to know people. Trying to build relationships. In the beginning, people are kind of who are you? Why do we need this? Because we're not educated. It's not something that's been here. So a lot of my first few months was that. It was just filling out the pulse and what the atmosphere is like. And then a big part of multiculturalism on any campus is to help students that have underrepresented in our communities to gain resources, right, to be successful. So me figuring out, we know there's gaps in society, right, in resources, but me figuring out where the gaps are here and how I can better connect students to resources or better connect them earlier in their college career to feel like they're a part and have a sense of belonging at the school they chose to be at. So that was a lot of what these 5 years have been like. And 5 years today, we actually have a center now on campus. We have our own programming space, and we have fully active clubs, and we have fully active heritage program, and I got a full staffed center. That's exciting, where when I first started, it was just me. And then I'm borrowing other people's staff to I need someone help me with this. I need help with that. I have my own staff that I lead in building them up in leadership and preparing them for the work that we do. So 5 years in, we're doing some stuff. I'm excited.
Yeah. The room is I love that room.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so comfortable. Cool. It's so comfortable. I feel if I need to really get work done, that's the place. It's the perfect place.
Just choose the right time, because they be down there.
Yeah. It's usually early in the morning.
Yep.
It's the best time.
Quiet. Yep.
It's perfect.
That's when I get the most work done. After 12,
No, yeah, that's it. It's like you might as well just close the
Yeah,
MacBook
my
and
job in
everything.
the afternoon is catering to whatever they need in the afternoon if I don't have meetings. But
Mm.
to get computer work done early
Yes,
morning,
early
sometimes I come in at 8 a.m. just to like do stuff before everyone come in. So
What's like the history of the Multicultural Club? Like when did it start and stuff like that?
So 5 years ago, so once I started, well, let me rewind. In terms of the clubs, there were multicultural clubs that existed before me. So we had a Jewish club at the time. We had the Caribbean Student Association always existed. The Latin American Society always existed. Those were groups that I came in that were fully active at the time.
Mm.
Um, there was another one, but what happened is as of time, where students graduate, sometimes when certain leaders graduate, the club doesn't always go on, right? So a lot of my work in building the cultural clubs was investing in the leaders. So building them up on what leadership means, how to make it through the tough times, because a lot of times like midterms and finals come be like, I am done. I'm not meeting no more. I'm not doing this. Malik, I'm overwhelmed. I need a break. So helping them walk through that, right? Helping them to learn how to utilize their teams. So a lot of times, presidents and vice presidents take on the brunt of the work, but you have a team. What does that look like? So I did. I'm a very. So one thing about me is I love development. So I love training my teams. So I love working. So one of my first charges to myself was to train them on leadership and to train them on how to navigate certain moments and to equip them with the tools to be successful, to equip their teams to be successful. So we've grown from there, and we at one point had about 10 multicultural clubs. Right now we have about 8 that's fully active. Um, it's a new campus, new environment, so we had a lot of adjustments within the last year and a half. But we now have 8 fully functioning multicultural clubs. And we just finished our Culture Week, which was last week, where we did more of a collaborative programming last week because campus life is just different.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't squeeze things between activity period or find the right evenings, you're not going to have a fully successful event as of now, right? We're working to fill this out still. I'm sure you see when you go to events, sometimes it's hit or miss. You got a full room or you got 3 or 4 in a room. So the club leaders are navigating that in this new space. But we spent the last 5 years really building the leadership, creating the team dynamics. For me, building trust, because I believe that if you don't trust me, we can't work together. We can't build. And I'm a builder at heart. So not just in this arena, but I believe one of my gifts are being able to build things from scratch. I'm a strategist. I love to figure things out. I love if there's a gap in the puzzle, I like to figure out the gap and let's fill it. Let's connect to the right people that can get us to get it done. And that's what the last 5 years have been. I'm an advocate. So I'm going to speak about what I feel is missing or not there, even though it may not always feel good to the people I'm saying it to. But I've learned to use my voice within these 5 years. So part of the multicultural office growing in general with the clubs is me learning to use my voice, and that within our underrepresented communities, when our students are working with me, they're looking at me because I'm in spaces that they're not. So me being able to utilize my voice is what helps us push the mission further. And that's how we even got here to year 5, to be in that center and do the work that we do.
Okay.
So my question is like, you said you originally applied for a different position, but then you were offered this. So then over time, like, what became your why? So like, what made you like throughout your work was like, all right, I'm actually kind of liking this, but then you realize like a deeper purpose to it. So what was that purpose that developed within you?
So it's funny. I already had my why before I even applied to St. Francis. So my why existed when I was a senior in college, and when I realized what higher education was. I went to college, but you don't know about the field. A lot of times you learn about these jobs when you go to college. So we didn't grow up saying, I want to be in the director of multicultural affairs, or I want to be in res life, or those are things you learn once you went to college. So my senior year of college, I was struggling with the decision of what to do with my master's. I knew I wanted to get a master's degree, but I wanted to be a music teacher. My whole life, I'm a music guy. So I wanted to be a music teacher in high school, like teaching, doing chorus, singing, doing all that stuff, right? That was my whole college career. My undergrad's in music.
Wow.
But when I became a resident assistant, I became became a resident assistant, orientation leader, and a student ambassador within 3 months of each other. So 3 different major roles on campus I took on, and I got to help students. And I said, dang, I want to be like the people that organizes these things. And I spoke to the director of Res Life at the time, and I put a note on the back of my dorm room door, and it said, I'm going to be a higher educational professional. Then I had changed it and said, I'm going to be the director of Residence Life, right? Because I thought I was going to be in Res Life forever, which is living with students and working. That's when my career started. Within being that director, the school I graduated from during my master's hired me to be a full-time employee at the school I graduated from, which is like really dope. And in the midst of that, I was like, we didn't have a multicultural office there anyway. And I was in a higher education program that taught you how to be a higher educational professional. That's the degree I wound up choosing. I said, I want to stay here. I love it here. And I would be honest with you, my second year of being a residence director, I worked on programming that was working on students being empowered, that worked on students really growing and changing their mindsets, and really providing resources for young people like us who don't always have those positive role models or resources to take us to the next level. In that programming, I realized I love multiculturalism. I love culture. I love learning about people. I love, so my why became advancing us. Advancing us. And everyone of color. Because when we look in the mirror, when I look at y'all, I see myself. Every student group that I work with, I see myself. I was that college leader. I was that person that just wanted to grow or didn't have the direction or support. So my why is really advancing us.
You actually brought me to my next question, right?
Oh, that's dope.
Because you said when you look at us, you see yourself.
Yes.
So one of my other questions was, how do you spread little pieces of yourself throughout your work? So like when somebody else comes here that knows of you, they're like, they see like a mural, and they're like, Maliek had a hand in that. Like, this was Malik's idea. You see a group of people like working on a project, and they get the idea of that project. They're like, yeah, Maliek had a hand in that. So how do you go about spreading pieces of yourself throughout your work or like your projects?
That's funny because I don't even think about that. I literally show up in spaces authentically myself. I think one of the best things about this job in particular, I feel like I really became an adult. Like my other jobs, I wasn't really in charge for real. Like I just followed what they told me to do. I had to build something from scratch that wasn't here. So it wasn't like there was a blueprint or like a day-to-day. So I literally had to show up as myself and just say like, what did I need? I'm looking at what the gaps are. I'm understanding these things. What did I need? And put all that together. And one thing I think when you're talking about spreading pieces of yourself is understanding who you are. And when you understand who you are and you show up authentically as yourself, I don't really have to have a plan to have my imprint anywhere. It's automatic. So when people work with me,
hold on.
Write that down.
Actually,
That's a good quote.
so I don't even think about how my imprint goes anywhere. I build the relationships and let it go from there. When it's authentic and when I pour out what I have to those connected to me, they pour out to someone else. That is, I like to call it like a leadership DNA, where like you start to see students doing some of the things that you taught them. You're like, that's it. A lot of times I don't think it's my imprint, but I do know that it's my teaching. So when I see them grow, when I see them as a freshman and as a senior, and it's like, oh man, you're dynamic. And I remember where you were when I first met you. One of my biggest sayings, and I said it to all of the freshman groups on Saturday at our recent open house, I said, my biggest goal is if you ever work with me or get connected to me at this college, my goal is to make sure you don't leave the way you came in. If you are leaving the way you came in, I did not do my job. And that's how I leave my imprint. I want to help you develop. I want to help you grow. And like I said, I do that through trainings, but even through personal time. If you sit and have a personal conversation with me, we're going to have some real talk.
Real talk.
And I want you to be able to gain something from me, even if it's a piece, to take into your life. And a lot of times, you have that one real conversation, they always come back. And then we keep it moving and we build. And that's really how this all came about. My why is really advancing us, and I imprint by just being myself.
So how was the change process from the old campus to like the new one?
I'll be honest.
He said, "What can I say?"
What can I
What
say?
can I
I'm on
say?
air. No. I'll be honest. I think it was pros and cons, like anything
Yeah.
else. There's things that I love about this space, and there's compared to the old space, and there's things that I don't like, and that I loved in the old space, and I think that's anywhere. Um, Adjusting for me was hard because I had my own office at one point. You're adjusting to cubicles, you're adjusting to glass.
Yeah.
For those that had a lot of glass, like trying
A
to
lot of
focus,
glass.
and
Nah, for real.
in my role, students are looking for me all the time. Leaders are looking for me all the time, or students that I just make a connection with. They need to see me 2 or 3 times a day. They have a break, like so. When you're in a space where it's all glass, you can't close the door and say, "I need 10 minutes to
No, for
myself."
real.
Right?
Yeah.
That I think is the hardest piece, but I learned to adjust. Um, I think that I'm learning to love the space. I think that the old campus was great, but I think that it was old school, and I
Mhm.
think that this is the start of something of walking into where we are where we are in time, right? So I think this is just a start. I think that hopefully we expand over time, but I think that overall I adjusted a lot better this year because we have a center, and we didn't have that last year, and to see the students in that space helps me adjust a lot quicker. So even now I don't have privacy, right? You've been you see my desk. I don't have privacy, but I guess this goes back to my why. When I see the students feel good about the space, when I see the
Yeah.
students, like, we love the campus, but we come in here to do whatever. Like, we're here, or I love to see that. So I think now I'm learning to love where we are. I'm learning to appreciate where we are because the technology, we don't have as many breakdowns in classrooms and things like that. Technology is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's pros and cons with any adjustment, and I choose. I'm saying this for anyone listening. You have to choose to make a conscious effort in any transition to be positive or to make it work,
Mhm.
and voice what don't work so we can work together with whatever teams to make it happen for whoever you're serving, whether you're in corporate education. So I choose to, for the most part, be positive, and what I'm not positive about, I choose not to stay there long, but to advocate for what we need to move forward.
All right, so then more specifically, because my question kind of ties into your question and also ties into your answer, right? How did you make a home out of the old campus, and then how do you plan to make a home out of this space as well?
Damn.
Just being me. I naturally connect with people. So naturally, I'm a people's person, right? And I think that that's always been to my detriment, right? Because people just, I used to get in trouble for that growing up. Like, I just love people. So I've never had, like, people be like, have you been bullied? Have you what? I've never had any of that. People always seem to love me. And the people that didn't, it never really, because people love me so much, whenever
didn't
someone
matter.
spoke crazy, by the time they get to me, we already took care of that, bro. Like, that was literally my upbringing. So I never really had to deal with, like, my personality. So to make a place home, I think me just being in a space makes it home. Like, a student said this to me the other day, and I really, there's pros and cons to this statement, but I appreciate it. They said if you weren't here, this space wouldn't feel the same. Like, we got the space, we happy we got the space, but if you weren't in it, I don't know if it'll feel like home. And I said that warms my heart because that lets me know that the students appreciate who I am and who I show up to be in the space. And I think that that let me know that that makes it home for them too. So I think just being myself, I show up, and it ties back into the last question. You're absolutely right, because it's the effort that I put in to stay positive for the most part for everyone else, that creates the home. And I think that strategy is which, like, how do we use the space? How do we, do what the students want, but also meet these educational goals we have in terms of education, is what makes it home as well. It's all about strategy. And when you get to know the students, the strategy becomes easy because they'll tell you what they want. They'll be honest. Like, they be like, I don't like this, Malik. Get this out of here, right? Literally. And I will tell them why we can or can't, or I will just, how we meet in the middle. But I think that making a home, it's really just me being myself. It's me just showing up as authentically Malik. And if I'm not authentically Malik, the space may not feel the same per the students. So I think just being myself.
I see a con. I see the con. Well, a con that I actually came up with. Um, that I thought you were gonna say, but you didn't say it. So it kind of makes me feel good. Cause I'm like original. Anyway, so a con to that is, you know, I know that you're 5 years into the game here, right? And given the type of personality you have, the type of person you are, and the type of builder you are, this might not be end game realistically. So a con to that could be, you know, you're here and you make this place feels like home, but you know, it could also make you think about when it's time for you to, you know, advance your career to like scale out and branch out more. You know, it can be a con because you establish this relationship with the students, and then when you choose to advance yourself, you're also taking something away from the students, right? So that brings me to my next question of, what do you see for yourself and for your work in the future? And how do you think that, like, if you can go more broad scale than this, like, what you would do? Because you're a ground up guy, I know that. So, what kind of network would you build for yourself?
There's a lot there. Um, to be honest, there's a few things. I want to build out my business, Evolving New Enterprise, where I want to create a place where we can develop people to grow in a healthy way. Um, I think that there are a lot of times when toxicity gets in the way, right? Other people's opinions or ways about us get in the way that halts us from the actual ability to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a product of that at one point. So one big thing for myself is I want to see my vision of what was given to me flourish outside of my higher ed career. In higher education, I would love to become a VP, a vice president, people saying president. If that happens, I would be open to that because I believe that I can hold a key that could change what students experience from higher ups. So I think a lot of times, and just in general, the higher you go up, and this is any company, anywhere, a lot of times that these professionals lose touch of what it means to be on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, and this is, I'm a spiritual guy, so my prayer and my life work is to make sure that I don't lose touch. I want to remember what it feels like to not have. I want to remember what it feels like to fight for. I want to remember what it feels like to struggle, right? And the reason why I want to feel that, even though I progress, is because that lets me know how to reach back to make the difference for those behind me. And I think that as I grow in my career, I want to be able to create those channels and spaces where I have the ability to, which means I need the position to make the change.
Yeah.
So I see myself being able to do that. And in networking, I always build relationships. So when I meet people from different schools, when I make friends, I think that's easy for me. Sometimes maintaining it, because sometimes I make too many connections and I'm like, it's hard for me to keep up sometimes.
Yeah.
But even like my networks from the schools, like this is my third school, so I have students from just 3 different schools. Even you count those that graduated from here already. Keeping up with those students, their lives, their accomplishments, like, and some of those students that I've had in the past are now in the higher education field.
Mm.
So they have put me on. I've gotten to go do presentations at a school because it was like, well, you did this for me. I want you to come to my school and do this for me, right? So it's like an exchange. So one thing you also don't understand is when you give, you never know when you're going to get the reciprocation of that. So there are students now pushing me, right? When I was the pusher at one point in stage. So I think that long term, I see myself be able to create avenues for us to do more, to be understood, and to gain the resources that we need. And I want to write books. So I'm working on a book right now. So those are things that I would like to see. I do have a comment about how you opened that up. The con. I love how you worded that. There is going to be a time where I may not be here, right?
Don't do that.
No. I'm being real.
See, I wasn't giving you an idea.
No. I actually don't have an idea. This is not an idea, but this is real. But I want to talk. I just want to add to that. Like, in thinking of that, I think one of the things that's really great is students don't realize, because every year you meet that freshman group that's like amazing, right? And then they be like, you gotta stay until I leave. And it breaks my heart every time because I'm like, I don't know if I can promise that, right? Because I'm growing and I'm a young professional, right? So for me, I'm always thinking of the next move. Obviously, I'm building here, and this is an opportunity that a lot of people don't have in their career to build something from scratch and to sell that, right? But what I will say is, y'all are always going to leave me.
Ooh.
No, that's real.
I learned that the hard way. Like, y'all are always going to leave me with no hesitation. Like, if I say, stay with me and take 5 extra classes, you're going to be like, what? You paying? You, like...
I find this type crazy.
Right. I'm like, y'all gonna stay with me an extra year? Like, no.
He's like, you think about it.
So, like, the reality is, too, like, in life, we all have to grow and make decisions, right? So I think that it's harder for me. But one thing I am confident in is that I prepare my students to survive without me. They may hate it. It may hurt. Like, it hurts me when y'all graduate, right? I'm like, there's always a group of students that you just shed a tear for, right? But it's gonna hurt, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
So you always got to. I don't like being a part of teams where you have to rely on people. I develop my teams to thrive without me. I prepare them. That's why I like development. So even without me, it may hurt that I'm not here, but you gonna get this work in. Y'all know what to do.
Right.
So I just want to throw that out there.
That's really good. That's really good. See, I was thinking about it, and I'm like don't.
I saw a little calm example, right? So boom, say Shaw been like a freshman approaching you, right? And it's like they don't know what to do like around campus. Like they're just wandering around. Like what you gonna do? Like they approach you.
And they need help with like getting acclimated to campus.
They're like getting used to it.
So I think the first step, I just build a relationship. So I talk to the student, I get to know them, I see what they like, and I slowly integrate them into what we do. And I understand that every student may not want to participate in a multicultural event, right? They may want to just only do academic. Like we have students that are part of pre-law, accounting, that they only going to go to those events, right? That's because within the diversity here, right, there's avenues for everybody, and you can choose and not feel guilty about where you want to be, right? If you're a part of the radio club and this is all you want to do, then this is where you're going to be. But I think the first part is I got to get to know you in order to help you. So what do you like? What do you want to be a part of? And then sometimes even what you've never done. Because sometimes I've pushed students, like if I see a gift or a talent there, or I see like they can talk a little bit about this, or they talk too much about this and they don't realize it themselves, I may be like, do you realize that you always talk about this? Maybe you should just go to this club event, right? And I do that, and I'm a very aware person, like beyond being self-aware, aware of other people. So a lot of times students will be like, well, how do you know that? I listen to you and I watch you. That helps me understand where I should place you too. Even if when you start working with me or you work in some capacity with what I do, I can place you somewhere because I get to know you. I think the biggest thing is in that once you get to know them, they trust you enough to push them to where they need to go. And on the other side of that is the things that I push students to do that they don't want to do wind up sometimes they don't even realize being the blessing that they needed to get through their college career. So I am very aware of that, and that's why I try to be very intentional with my conversations, because you never know what that student needs to get to the other side.
So what is a move that, or what is a decision you wish you could have made? Let's say maybe 2-3 years ago, because I feel like at least with most processes, throughout our lives, there's, especially when it's like a long-term thing, there's gonna be a moment where it's like a window of opportunity for you to like open like large scale, but you kind of like go around that a little bit, and then instead of it, instead of your progress increasing exponentially, meaning like this, it increases kind of linear. So like, what's one thing, or what's one kind of crossroads you came to like in your career that you think about to this day that could potentially brought you to a higher skill than right now? And then do you regret it, or do you actually appreciate that you didn't make that decision?
I think one thing I regret is settling. there was a point in my time here that I just got used to the norm and settled within myself.
Mhm.
So I was quiet. I just worked. I was good with the students, but in terms of like administration wise or connecting with the campus that way, and I think then COVID hits, right? So then you navigate COVID with settling in yourself, and you're like, you don't realize it's settling at first. You just think that like I'm not happy, right? But what I recognize is it's not that I'm not happy. I wasn't pushing myself to do what Malik does. Something may have made me feel the way, and I just settled there instead of working through it and being the person that I know I am. I think that that impedes on progress. That doesn't allow you to have clear perspective, to move forward and to strategize. And I think there was a moment in time where I was just doing what was necessary to get me through this season. If I had the opportunity to go back, I probably wouldn't change it. This is why. I believe that everything's a learning opportunity. Um, and what happens with learning opportunities is it builds me up for the next moment that happens to know how to maneuver through it. So I would say like the biggest thing is settling, and that can happen from emotional trauma. That can be, and I think this is something that people don't talk about often. You could be triggered in any space by anything, right? That's as subtle as someone looked at you a certain way, right? Um, but with that, I think knowing how to come out of it, knowing how not to get stuck there. So I think I learned a lot about how to maneuver, which is why I'm so vocal today. Sometimes maybe too vocal. But you learn, you live and you learn. But I think that in this world, anything multiculturalism, anything that with the work that I do and who I've become, there's going to be some friction. There's going to be some things that doesn't always feel good. But learning how to rise to your occasion and make things work, I think is what I'm learning now more than ever. And I wouldn't go back and change it because it's made me who I am today.
It's actually perfect. So we talked about. we, talk,
Perfect. I would like that.
so we talked a lot about what you do inside of your career and everything
About
like
to go outside.
that. What does Malik look like outside
Outside.
SFC?
That's a great
I mean,
question.
Yeah.
I know your creativity is still there, but when you loosen the tie a little bit, when you take off the shoes and you really you sink into your house living, you sit down. What does Malik look like?
Who is
Like,
I am fun. I'm fun, but I am a very family oriented person. So I have 4 sisters. I am the only boy.
Wow.
I have 6 nephews, 1 great nephew, and 3 nieces. 2 great nephews. And I'm a family man. Like, me and my siblings, like, I've established something with them where we have sibling nights and we get together without the kids and we try to, like, just bond and hang out and just be siblings, right? Um, I am family oriented. I am very self motivated too, so I'm a very aware person. So I'm always working towards how to better myself. So a lot of times at home, I may be in my thoughts, just working through what's the next steps. Sometimes that's dangerous, but a lot of cases for me, it could be really good. Um, and I am a church going. I grew up in the church, so actually this Friday I get ordained as an elder in my church. So that's
Wow.
exciting. Yeah, so I am very church. I was a praise and worship leader. I have done some preaching in the past and probably be doing some more, but I'm an educator within the church. So I'm a virtual member at my church now. My church is not here in Brooklyn, but I'm the director of Christian education. So I teach classes online. And like I'm a well-rounded person outside of I'm not like on one side, not the other. If we go out, we're gonna have a good time.
right.
When we go to church, we're gonna have a good time. Like if we just talking, we're gonna have some good conversation and we walk away and be like, dang, we gotta finish this, right? I work to being a holistic person and not being too much of one thing because that's what pushes people away.
Yeah.
So I work on that constantly. And I'm sensitive. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm sensitive, so I'm very in touch with what I feel, how I feel, because I believe there were moments in life where I wasn't allowed to share or wasn't taken seriously. So in college, I worked through therapy and did all of that work. So today I can be a healthy sensitive, right, where I can share how I feel.
Shout out to
And
therapy.
shout out to
Shout out to
therapy.
Bro.
I've been doing this since 2010. I'm telling y'all, since I started college. Whew, I just said my age out there a little bit. Anyway, but
Yeah,
yeah,
don't worry about that.
It's okay.
yeah, let's overlook that. But yeah, that's me outside.
That's really good. Like, what do you say are some like new hobbies or like new interests you're like looking to pick up?
It's really interesting.
Especially about the books. I'm really curious about
Right.
that. Because I love reading, so I want to know more about the book that you're writing.
So, I'll give you the title because it's powerful to me. It's called The Power to Produce.
Mm.
And one thing I recognize is that I was very insecure a lot of times growing up for various reasons. And as I grew into leadership and working in this field, I found Maliek. And I realized that my power lied in what I've overcome. And a lot of times people get stuck in the what happened, how this happened, who didn't do what, how you could. Like, we get so stuck there that no matter what people do, every moment someone, they can sneeze wrong. And you always do this type of thing, right? We get so stuck that we don't grow. So the power to produce is really to help people understand that, yeah, we went through this, but what did you get from it? And how is it going to enable you and empower you to show up to do the next thing?
Mm.
Every experience is preparing us for the next thing. So that book is, I don't know when I'm going to be finished, but it's going to empower us to understand the process of producing and why it's important for us to grow.
What is the process of like writing a book?
Oof. Well, for me, I'm a starter. I'm a new at this. So, I think the first step was like writing down my ideas. Like, I'm very. So I told you I go to church. I'm very spiritual as well. So, in my prayer time or in just like my devotion time, a lot of times things will be downloaded to me. Like, God will show me things. So sometimes even in my dreams. So it's like either or for me.
Oh, so you're a vivid dreamer too?
I'm very
Yeah.
like, but it's seasonal for me. There are seasons where my dreams are very vivid, and there are seasons where I just get downloads. Like, it switches off.
Nah, I hear that.
That also lets me know where I
That's
am.
real.
So I think that sometimes things just come to me, and I will have to take note of it ASAP. Because if I don't, I might forget it, and I have to wait for it to come back.
That is so. That's literally.
I have notes.
Yeah, you have to.
That's
When
literally
something
Me
what
too.
you go
I
for.
have to. So when you get those downloads, you got to be on it, or
No,
like
yeah.
the dreams, because there will be times where when I wake up, I got it, because you
You
forget
have to write
dreams.
it down.
You gotta write it down.
Yeah.
So that's how my process really writing those ideas down, leaning on those downloads from my devotional time, and then also I do seek help. So like I have my mentor has written 2 books, so and then I have another mentor who's a bestseller, and a few years back, so he helps me as well with that process. So it's kind of just seeking help, getting advice along the way, and some just writing. You write, you go back, you edit, you clean it up, but just write. So I learned because I was sitting like this got to be perfect. So every line I'm writing, and then I got to backspace and be like,
Yeah.
and my mentor was like, Malik, write. We can clean it up later. We can make it sound good later. Put it out.
Yeah.
And I realized sometimes when I would do all that editing, I would erase stuff and do whatever, and then I forget where I was trying to go.
And at the end of the day, it's not even you.
Right.
Right.
So it's just like just write. So the process for me now is just write, and what I'm struggling with is being committed to the writing.
That is
Yeah. So I used to write blogs. I'm actually going to be relaunching my blog in January. But when I was writing blogs, it kept me going, and then I stopped, and I was like, so I want to get back into that because there were people that was like, you're sharing this, and this really resonates with me. Like, I was like, look, this, especially during COVID, I was like, look, this month was hard. Like, and I would write what that looked like for me spiritually or whatever, and it would connect with people that, number one, I didn't think would ever read my stuff. Like, we've been friends on social media for years. You never like a post, you never love like any comment, anything, but then you were reading my stuff. And when I stopped, so hopefully this encourages all of you here too, because when I stopped doing it, I did it for like 6 months. When I stopped doing it, people were writing me saying I was looking forward to your blogs when you're starting this again.
Right.
And none of these people have liked, commented, or anything. Someone from a different state asked me.
Yeah.
They said we saw someone share it. I've been reading, but I've never seen a like or nothing from none of these people. So you never know who you're encouraging or who you're. Sometimes we look for those same people. We gotta take our focus off of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even writing a book, I'm like, nobody's gonna buy this or whatever. The people that became bestsellers didn't get bestsellers from the people that's connected to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Those people may have helped push in some capacities, maybe, but there are people assigned to the work that you do, and I believe that wholeheartedly. That whatever is in me, there are people assigned to receive from it. The same way there's people assigned to receive from you, and you. So put your best foot forward and commit to the work you're supposed to do, and it's a process. So that's why I'm talking about the power to produce and all that. It's processing. We are being processed. You're going to have seasons where you're extra committed and you're learning how to stay committed, building your discipline, understanding, like, am I supposed to be doing this right now? That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding, am I supposed to be doing this or this? And kind of understanding, like, where you are and to be able to make those decisions. And however you decide to, mine is my prayer life, but whatever you have in your life that's meditation or whatever that helps you see clearly, utilize that time to kind of make those decisions so you can make the most impact that you can.
I feel like that's how you also know you grew as well, because if people that wasn't even liking and stuff, people from other states was talking to you, like, it's one thing to be getting support from the same people, but like when that clouds your vision, you don't really like. It's like.
Come on now.
Bring the options.
It's about that time of day, y'all. Say example.
Boom.
All right.
I am loving this.
So,
Remember, Zay.
yeah. So let's just say, for example, this dot is you guys, right? This is all of us. Individually, though, right?
For the video, there's a dot.
There's a dot.
I know
There's a
it's
dot.
on the
Boom.
paper.
It's a dot right here.
Dot.
I wish I had a bigger. You know what I'm saying?
The
Hold on.
dot.
But the dot.
Dot right there. Boom.
Boom.
And
Dot.
then this circle is your closest friends, your most common supporters standing around you. Then you got the people. Then you got the people behind that, people who you say hi and bye to.
Another circle.
Yeah. Another circle.
So now we're at two rings. You got yourself, your smaller close group, and then you got the people outside of that who you cool with, but you don't really tap in like that. Now, mind you, unless you are LeBron, when it gets past those two rings, you can't really see too much. So what I'm trying to say here is that you're not really seeing how much you're growing and who you're impacting if you're only focusing on the people that's on the inside that's supporting you, right? You're not really seeing what's going on.
That's a word.
So write your own word.
Write that down.
Yeah, write that down.
Write that down.
No, that's really impactful.
That's really cool how you were able to. You know what I'm saying, you look past that. You got past that. My fault. Hey,
I can't see this.
you can't see.
You gotta take a picture of it, but yeah. But I would say that that's really impactful because even here, sometimes I don't understand my reach. Last graduation we had, there was a group of students that were saying, "Yo, I appreciate everything you do for the college and whatever." These are students that I haven't engaged with, but they've watched and they've heard from their friends, and they said that we've been impacted by the things our friends say, right, about you and whatever. So you never know your reach. Right? And that's why it's important to carry yourself accordingly all the time. Sometimes we pick and choose what rooms we're going to act like what in. And that's not how you should move.
Alright, so if you didn't have a job as like an educator, like what would your dream job be?
That's crazy because I always wanted to be an educator in some way, shape, or form. I used to have the chalkboards as a kid, and I used to come home and teach my grandmother everything I learned in school. It was adorable. If I did not, I would be. Okay, don't y'all looking at me. I would be a background singer.
That is so. Oh, that's so cool.
I always wanted to.
Oh, that's so cool.
I sing in church and stuff, but I said so Music Soul Child is one of my favorite singers.
Mhm.
If I had the opportunity to sing background for Music Soul Child and go on tour, I'm leaving here in a second. I mean, he don't even have to tell me a salary. Like, I'm gone.
They don't matter.
Music Soul Child, I'm done. Music Soul Child, I am a very big, I love Neo. I'm a soul guy too, so like Anthony Hamilton, all of those singers, Tank, Tyrese, like any of those opportunities to like, Tyrese a lot. We ain't gonna talk about that today. But like, any of those singers, like to have an opportunity just to sing background without dancing and stuff, I ain't doing all that. I'm tired. But like, but I would sing background. I would kill it. I mean,
Because I heard
someone
him sing. He got the.
Right.
Got the vocals.
a little bit.
We've been there during the open mics in the.
Yup. She
in the
went
cafe.
Can I tell you, I studied music in undergrad, and when I first started, I was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, I could not. I did good. Like, well, I went through puberty. Let's just really talk about that. When I was a kid, I used to be in the mirror. I got sunshine. I used to be in the mirror performing everything with my brush, all that.
Mhm.
Right.
And then as I hit puberty, I had my first solo in church. And as I was preparing, it was like during preparation, my voice started to get deeper. And I'm like, I don't know how to use this. What is this? You know?
I felt that.
So I had to learn how to adjust with my voice, and I didn't like how I sounded. So
Yeah, that's like a big thing when it comes to.
singing.
Yeah.
So when I got to college, I had this deep voice and didn't know what to do with it. And then I had professors that pushed me, which I realized I had more range than I knew I had.
Mm.
So now I can hit all these notes now. Well, back then in college. But like they taught me how to hit those notes and how to move. And if I had an opportunity, I would be a background singer in a heartbeat. Because the singer I am today, even compared to when I left college, I've grown tremendously in how I am vocally.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I practice every day.
I have a question. Okay, so
This is fun.
I say vocally, right?
Yes.
Because the singing is like a little. I love singing. So much. It's so much fun. So if you was to say, what was one piece of advice that you got, to learn how to sing and stuff like that, that you carry, like, this is a staple. Like if you need this, is it like learning instruments, or is it learning music theory, or really working with technique? Like what is it?
Okay, I will honestly say it's a combination. Music theory, I hated it at the time, but
So
it taught me the technique of music. So I can't tell you everything I learned at this moment, but because I applied it into what I do, it comes up in more ways than one. Vocal warm-ups and all of those things that I never used to warm up my voice, and I used to hate it in college. They'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna warm up, everybody, come on!" And I'm like, "I don't know what to
Weird
do."
way of
Yeah.
singing too.
And then they always did the thing,
Yeah,
right?
that's
My
my favorite.
mustache always hits my nose, and it makes me mad every time because I'm like, it feels weird, right? I would say music theory, but on top of all of that is great. I think that what musicians or singers need to know the most is not letting opinions affect how you learn. Because in the beginning, it took me a long time to learn because I was because I didn't sound like her or sound like him, I wasn't good. And when you learn to really settle in on the gift that you have and develop that, that's when you soar. Because you can have all the music theory and all that in the world, and once those opinions hit and throw you off,
Is this gonna?
it doesn't matter. I heard there were some really great singers that I was in school with sometimes, and because of opinions, when they got on stage, that thing went left. And I've had those moments. There was a moment I was on an actual campus when I was in college, and me and my best friend, we performed. She did poetry, so we would take instrumentals, and I would sing the chorus, and she would make her poetry around it.
Oh,
So we
that's
used to kill it.
fire.
So we used to kill it in college, right? And we did this whole thing, Jill Scott, let's take a long walk. So there's a part where it's like, baby, we can, it's like all these words, right? So we practice, and we're in the middle of campus. It's outside, it's activity fair outside, it's fall, and we about to perform, and the music's playing, and by the time it gets to that part, maybe we can, and I'm like, literally, how I was just doing it is how it came out because I couldn't get the words out. Maybe we can. I was so embarrassed only because the eyes were on me, and I was like, what if I don't sound good? What if I don't, So I think in my freshman year of college, I'll say this and move forward. The freshman year of college, my friends had a studio, my freshman friends in the dorm room, and I was singing in there. Remember I told you I didn't like my voice or anything?
Right.
And one of the guys who was a rapper said, "Yo, shut the blink up, you can't sing."
Oh.
And my friends, which we all just met, we all just came in together. We weren't even like 2 months into college yet. And they came out like, yo, don't you ever disrespect him like that, blah, 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 blah. He can sing, he's just nervous, right? And I'm like, why you had to tell him I'm nervous? But that moment challenged me because I started performing publicly on campus, and I gave it my all every time. Now, if I go back there now and with the vocals I got today, they're going to be like, that ain't him. So I would say don't let the opinions affect how you train yourself and develop the gifts you have, because you can have all that training and still sound. There are singers that are famous that do not sing well live.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
They do not sing well live.
Yeah.
Their music is amazing. I will bump the music all day and night. But once you have to go live, it's a different story.
Completely different.
I'm ready to turn off the TV.
Oh, that also ties with being a performer too.
Yeah.
Because even if you sing, you still got to perform in some way. You know,
Yeah.
movement, or like trying to get somebody to engage, or just emphasizing either words or the beat.
I like to say sometimes truly so I'm not a real performer. I actually didn't know I was that good until like when you can stand there and sing and people just get with you, that means you have something, right? And sometimes I just think, well, I'm like more of a background singer. I shouldn't be in the front. But when I would get in front, people would be like so excited, especially when you know you got that range and you hit that note, and everybody like, oh. So I used to be like, okay. So I learned that like even like the performer piece, like there's sometimes where I would say things and try to engage, but sometimes I will overthink it and miss kind of what I'm trying to portray in the performance. But just me singing from the heart, and when I'm not thinking about it and trying to be so technically savvy in my vocals, and it just flow, I kill it a lot better than when I have it all planned out. I just go naturally for what
It's
I know.
like, just go for it. That's it. Don't
Just
even
go
think
for
too
it.
much about it.
Everybody can't do that. Some people really have to do like 20 rehearsals and like, and I'm an improv. I like to improv, so I can make up a song on the spot.
That's a superpower.
Yeah, so
That
make
is
it-
a superpower.
Yeah, I can
Making
make up
something on the
songs on
spot
the
is
spot.
just,
Yeah, I'm
that's
good.
fire.
I do that with my siblings. Like, we be doing stuff. So
I be doing it with my cousin all the time. It's so much fun.
yeah,
It could be something, anything.
yeah.
Like, you know about literally food.
Anything. They literally said that I should be making jingles and stuff like that for like commercials and stuff. If I really put effort
The
into
catchy
it.
stuff is
Yeah.
where the improv,
I could actually relate to that because I used to go to music school and like they used to drill it into me, you know, all that. It's like I'm over here thinking about all the techniques and everything like that, and I'm not really letting myself come through,
Yep.
right? Because I used to learn at that school. I used to learn piano and also do vocals as well.
Come on.
So like it would stress me out. And then one time, like this was after school started picking up for me, so this is around like I'd say like freshman year of high school. I was like, you know what, I can't, because they kept talking about technique, and it's less of me. I was like, you know,
What
like,
school did you go to?
it was one in Long Island. It's closed now, unfortunately, because like the head of the school.
I was like, it better not be in Brooklyn High School.
Nah,
They denied me. I auditioned and I didn't get in. I was
wow, they auditioned the.
like,
I didn't know that.
They auditioned.
I mean, they'll have to make sure that what you're teaching is real.
It was a music. I was auditioned for the vocal track. I didn't get in, but I was like, I'm gonna show them. I got to the college and I did my thing.
Right.
Music is so interesting, especially when it comes to like for example with schools, like versus making music and theater.
Yeah.
Completely different. It's like really interesting to see like how when you're singing a song versus if it's a song but in theater.
Yeah. So I had to do that. So throughout my 4 years of being a music major, I had to sing jazz, I had to sing opera, I had to sing
Opera?
theater, I had to
Wow.
perform. Like I literally had to, my senior recital, because you have to do a senior recital to graduate, I had to do 11 songs. And they consisted of opera, all that, jazz, all that. And then I had to sing in like 2 different languages. So I sang a song in French, and there was another language I sang in.
French songs are really beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Amazing.
The hardest things for me, you would have thought opera was hard for me. That wasn't hard.
I was just about to ask that. What was
Yeah.
the hardest?
The hardest was theater, because I had to get into. I feel like with that I had to get into character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they just give you a song with no I had to go back and study what the play was about, what the character
Yeah.
was about,
It's
so
like
I
a
can
whole
get
storyline.
into. So when I get on, so I'm goofy sometimes. So like I want to act, and I was in all the church plays growing up. So I take my roles seriously. So I'm like, I got to do this. So I would really go and try to channel my inner whoever, and that was hard for me at the time because the professors were like, they focused on the vocals. I'm like, how do I know what to give this? Because music, I feel like there's a story.
Mm-hmm.
Even if someone else wrote it, I gotta attach myself to that. And sometimes I have to connect it to something to me in order to make it beautiful, or for me to be able to sing it authentically. And so those moments were important with theater because I'm like, and I feel like they had the cadence of those sometimes was just like, it was either like extremely fast and the words was really wordy.
Yes.
And like, you gotta get it and you gotta breathe right. And then that was a season 2 where my asthma was bad, so I'm like trying to breathe and sing and like not sound crazy.
Oh.
But I did it, and my senior recital for my senior class was the only one because it was so many of us, we had to do separate recitals, and the auditorium was packed at my college, like students was coming out. It was crazy. I've never seen a senior recital for a music major that packed, so it was exciting. I was like, oh, I'm loved.
Do you watch plays though in theater and just?
I haven't
musicals?
as of recently. I love Chicago.
Oh.
I love the. Please don't let me forget it.
Describe it.
It's a.
Sure, definitely know.
I'll probably know just a little bit.
I wanna be in America.
Oh. West Side Story? No.
Yes.
West Side
See?
Story. Look at me.
I'm a big Lion King fiend, so I dream of being on Lion King on Broadway.
Oh my god, I love that musical.
So I'm actually planning to go soon.
Is this the first time?
No, I've been before.
Oh, okay.
I
so
am
nice.
going. I want to be in it.
No, yeah, especially the song "He Lives in You."
Yes.
So fire. That's like my favorite.
He lives in you. I love that.
So fire.
It's really dope. I love that, and there's another. Well, I love theater in general, so I watch all that Medea stuff and things that like. I watch anything that's like arts, so like that has multiple layers of art, not just acting, but you got the singing. Sometimes it could be annoying if you watch it more than once. You might fast forward the singing parts. Right. But yeah, I love authentic plays in theater. So,
what would you say is like your like if you was to say a play that you watched and you didn't like, what would be like the theme of just kind of plays that you just don't go for?
You know what's kind of crazy? Please don't judge me if you hear what I don't like.
If you say Hamilton, I might cry.
I was about to say Hamilton.
That's literally one of my favorites.
What don't you like about Hamilton?
I just don't. I can't connect.
Is it like the history, the storyline, or is it just the song?
It's too long for me. And
that's true. Yeah, it is long.
I get lost. So my attention span.
Mm-hmm.
I watch like West Side Story is a little long for me, but like I don't know. Hamilton. I just can't.
I love Hamilton.
And I watched it. Like I've seen the I can't. I like the music.
The music.
I do like the music. Yeah. I just can't watch the. But I also like operas, like going to watch operas. That's actually relieving for me. Like
I need to put that on my bucket list.
Yeah, and it's not in your language, so it's like the word is just they have the words for you. But I love going to watch an opera, getting dressed up, put the suit on, and go watch an opera.
The last time I went to go see an opera, not gonna lie, it was mid.
It was mid.
And then like it kind of like just I was like I had a few opportunities to go, and I was like,
why do you think it's mid?
At least the last one I went to was mid, but like I feel like in general, it's something that like, okay, how do I explain this?
It's an acquired taste.
It is.
Yeah, it's like one of those things.
Did I put it right?
Yeah. Like I was gonna compare it to something else. So like, it's kind of like you would be like, okay, why do certain people like to do certain things, and then you try it out, and you learn to understand, and you learn to to really feel it out. You're like, okay, see, this is something called I like this. So that's how I felt when I firstly went to my first opera show. I was like, yeah, this is it. I can sit through this.
Mm-hmm.
And then after my fourth one, which was
the last one,
that one, I was like, you know what, this is mid. Maybe I'll try it back. Never ran it back after that. But now you talk about it, I'll actually.
The closest opera I've ever been to is like Phantom of the Opera, and that's on TV. That's about it. And I just love musicals. It's so much fun.
Please make the time to go see one opera. It's really
on my bucket list.
It's really a good experience. It's a really cool experience, and I don't regret it. I love it. And I'm waiting to go back. So I haven't done it since COVID, so I'm looking forward to it.
Such a common thing, and just with the podcast, just
Yeah.
music. It's just
Yeah.
like, every time we have a guest, it's just music.
Yeah, music's the key to the soul.
This is very true. Is that when we had our first guest,
Mhm.
man, he was talking about music.
Yep, that's cousin over there. That's cousin.
It's cool.
We can start about what was the girl's name? Prof. Greg? Or,
Oh, Gregory, yes, Professor Gregory, yeah.
Was
He
it-
likes music too.
Prof. G's?
Proud G.
Oh, gee.
Wow.
It's been very common music.
Yeah, music's the key to the soul, man.
No, for real,
That's
yeah.
a goal for the semester. Get Prof. G's on the show.
No way.
It's not gonna happen, but let's get Prof. G's on
Proud G really show.
the word.
Really show his
So we about to start wrapping up in a few. Anybody got one last question for Malik before we wrap it up?
fun though.
Like we got the.
We got
we
spectrum.
got everything.
everything.
Well, I guess I got one last small question. So I'm gonna go back to multicultural. Is there anything like in the future? Is there anywhere you want to see multicultural go for the future in terms of like collaborations, events, or anything of the sort?
I'll be transparent. I would love to see our celebrations be all over this campus, like not limited to a space. Like I would love to see decorations everywhere. I would love to see like when we really celebrate something,
You could see it.
well, you can see it everywhere. And I think it's a work in progress. But like I also, to be honest, it's not really about the events or progression of events that's gonna come naturally. My heart's desire is to see our students really take advantage of what we're putting out. So my heart's desire is to figure out how to get our students to come. Because we can do all of this and no one's showing up the way they should. Or it's the same people all the time. So I would love to see us really make an impact in terms of how our students show out to celebrate culture, be educated, and even share their own cultures.
Go. I like that. So I guess that wraps it up for this episode of ABU. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Of course, as always, follow us on Instagram at ABU_podcast. Subscribe on YouTube at ABU Podcast YT. Amanda, tell about that TikTok.
ABU Podcast 4 for TikTok.
Thank you for Malik for coming in. Well, yeah, there you go. That's thank you, Malik, for coming in for this episode. Shout out to Malik. Follow the SFC Multicultural page on Instagram. It's
SFC Multicultural.
SFC Multicultural. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Go back.
Wait.
Word of the day.
Wait.
Word of the day.
Scratch everything I just said. Run that back. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Zay, tell them about that word of the day.
The word of the day is maestro.
Maestro, that's the word of the day. We will see you guys next week. Thank you.
And now
Yeah. Thank you for watching the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe button up here. Comment down below and watch the latest video. Bye, guys.